Golic and Wingo for Tuesday, February 25th.
Some remarkable performances across the basketball landscape where the specter of Kobe Bryant was sort of looming over everything.
Left wing outside the arc, Beal for three. It's there! 51!
First player since Kobe to score 50 or more in consecutive nights.
That's what Kobe was, man.
Here's Harden, Euro stepping on Barrett, left to right through the lane, got down, get in there, yes, and one!
James Harden, he scored 30 points in the first half, tying Kobe Bryant for the most over the last 20 seasons.
And there is Sabrina Ionescu with the rebound. She has just become the first player in Division I history with 2,000 points, 1,000 assists, and 1,000 rebounds.
To do it on 2/24/20 is huge. I mean, that one was for him.
Okay, Tuesday's off to a good start. Golic and Wingo with you, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic, Trey Wingo here as we continue to sort of try and move forward, for lack of a better term, within no intentions of forgetting, but understanding that Monday was a very significant day for the city of Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Lakers, and so many people that were affected by Kobe Bryant with the celebration of life for Kobe and Gianna at the Staples Center. And now we sort of begin the process of trying to find our way forward for whatever the future will hold for everybody, and still holding on to that memory of Kobe and Gianna and everybody that perished in that helicopter crash.
What you heard in that open, courtesy of KMBE 790 AM Federal News Radio. You know, and I'm glad it was called a celebration of life, because I think almost a month out from the tragedy, where there's still the shock and of this whole thing, and that certainly was evident right away. We all were, but now with the month that passed, I think that you got to celebrate the life a little more, right?
Yes.
Of Kobe, of Gigi, certainly of all that were lost in that flight. But we know yesterday there was a lot of the talk, obviously, of Kobe and Gigi, and you were able to celebrate, especially from the Kobe side, celebrate a little bit more. It was so many of the greats were there in sports, and those that talked, not only talked very heartfelt about Kobe, but had some funny stories as well. So you were able to talk a little more lighthearted about it. While people were crying and hugging one another, you were able to laugh through the tears as well at some of the stories of just how, you know, Kobe was, from Vanessa talking about him being a dad to all girls, how he never left the toilet seat up, to what Shaq and Jordan and all they said to get laughs from the crowd. So I think that was a good, and I think you put it really well. It was a giant LA and sports world area hug.
Yeah.
Kind of that hug of,
needed.
You know what, we can cry together, we can laugh together, and now everybody, and it happened since January 26th, everybody starts to move on however they choose to move on. Yeah. You know, some people chose not to be at their yesterday. Some chose to be there and fly to their game. So it's how you wanted to deal with it. And because there is no right or wrong way. It's how you choose to deal with it. But it seemed like a very kind of fitting, tough stories, heartfelt, especially Vanessa talking not only about Kobe, but as I'll continue to say, losing a child, I can't fathom it.
No.
And my in-laws had to unfortunately go through that twice. So it's just the most brutal thing in the world to have to go through. And she was unbelievable in talking about it. So now, you know, everybody, as they had started to do for the last month, you start to get back to what you do, and you don't forget Kobe.
No, not at all.
But you just start to get back to whatever your life was.
Yeah, so that process will begin for the Lakers specifically tonight when they host Zion Williamson and the Pelicans. And then there were so many performances last night. You had Bradley Beal with back-to-back 50-point games, first player to do that since Kobe Bryant.
In 07, yeah.
Or weirdly, the first player in NBA history to have 50 points on consecutive days and lose them both, which is really bizarre. Sabrina Ionescu, the Oregon superstar, who was at the memorial, who befriended Kobe and Gianna at a USC Oregon game a couple years ago, spoke at the memorial and then went to Stanford last night and became the first player in Division I history, man or woman, with 2,000 career points and 1,000 assists and 1,000 career rebounds, a remarkable achievement.
And she did it on 2/24/20.
Exactly.
2 is Gigi's number, 24 Kobe's number, and 20 is Sabrina's number.
Just absolutely incredible. And then there were other things that went on in the NBA last night, including Joel Embiid, who said after a recent game, I'm the best player in the league, and nobody believes that he is, but he's out there playing like it. Embiid finished last night in the win over the Hawks with a career-high 49 points to go along with 14 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals, and a block in 36 minutes in their 129-112 win over the Atlanta Hawks. And quite frankly, he's going to have to keep doing that, Mike, because of the other situation in Philadelphia, and that is the idea that Ben Simmons isn't going to be there for a long, long while. Our Woj reporting that Simmons is expected to be sidelined for an undetermined period of time as the doctors try and evaluate a course of action on the All-Star's injured back. And they don't know, the Sixers said, Brett Brown before Monday night's game, where they're being with where they're going to be with Simmons. It's really kind of like, how long is a piece of string? Who knows? Who knows? Whatever the time equals on days, games, periods of time, then we can talk more honestly. But they just don't know right now what they're going to get out of him.
And you know you need him if you're going to go anywhere, right? So at this point, you're sitting in the 5 slot. You're a half game from being in the 4 slot, and you have a couple of games from going backward. But that can't worry you right now. Ben Simmons has to heal up, and that's a back. So that's one of those things. Come back too soon, you tweak that thing again, and you're out even longer. They need him to do anything. Joel Embiid was fantastic, no doubt about it. But they're going to need him to do anything in the playoffs. So we have no idea. Backs are such a funny thing, a funky thing with how long they could last. So you just have to wait and see. But Embiid, again, 49 points last night. Had an interesting talk after the game, and actually had a nice talk after the game about how well he's playing and threw in a couple apologies as well.
Yeah. Here is Joel Embiid commenting after the win.
I mean, I believe I am. But when I made that statement, I didn't actually say that I was. I said that, being with, some of the best players in the world and I proved myself. That's what I said. But yeah, my bad. I do believe it. When I play like tonight, anything can happen. And I also want to say sorry for what I did at the end of the game. Y'all probably saw that on TV. I'm sorry. Thank you.
So for those, what he did at the end
of the Joel Embiid, by the way.
What he did at the end of the game with like 18 seconds ago, they were ahead 129-112. The game was over. Kevin Huerter stole the ball from Embiid with that little time left and the game basically being over. And Embiid flipped him off right there in the court.
Right.
Flipped him off. Everybody saw it. And then he dropped the F-bomb in that interview after.
On NBC Sports Philadelphia.
So he apologized for saying, what the heck, I'm the best player, and a couple of apologies for doing a verbal and nonverbal F-bomb.
Yeah, my bad, dog.
Yeah.
Basically is what he's saying.
Sorry about the F-bomb.
Yeah.
Sorry about the finger.
You know what's interesting about this, though? And I guess there's a point to be made as, by the way, all I hear is the Philadelphia 76ers song in my background. It's just so great. Yeah. But it feels like Joel Embiid is at his best when Ben Simmons isn't on the court. And it feels like sometimes Ben Simmons is at his best when Joel Embiid isn't on the court.
Listen, we've heard the talk that if they don't do much this year, that is one of them gone, and if who's gone, who stays, who should stay, who should you build around there? The big man in the middle, or the big man who can dish the ball everywhere but doesn't shoot threes.
Doesn't shoot the threes,
which I think everybody can live with. So that will be an interesting question. But they need Ben Simmons healthy.
Yeah.
So they need that to take as long as it needs to. Through this regular season. Well, we're at 58 games they've played, so they have 24 more games in the regular season before we get to the post to see what's going to happen.
And right now they're the 5 seed, and their split in home and away is so different.
It's unreal.
If they're going to do anything in the postseason, they've got to make sure they lock down that.
But how? If you especially don't have Ben Simmons for an amount of time, that can't be. The worry is getting him healthy and being in the playoffs, right? Instead of trying to force him to play to get any kind of home games.
Correct.
You just got to play better on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference is ridiculous. They are 27-2 at home, the best record in the NBA. They have 9 wins on the road. They're 9-20 on the road.
27-2 and 9-20. It's crazy.
Incredible, yeah.
And you know what that also means? I tell you, there's going to be a lot more road games coming up down the stretch of the season.
Yeah, they have a couple of cupcake games. They call them cupcake games. I guess they are. The Cavs and the Knicks.
Yeah.
And then they
got the Clippers.
They go to the West Coast swing, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Kings.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it definitely gets tough. And again, we don't know when Ben's coming back.
So, again, we'll see what happens there. But they're going to need Joel Embiid to do those things that he did last night with the basketball, not with his freelance finger or his mouth.
Finger, yeah.
To see if they get going where they need to get going. And we all know that that Joel Embiid has size.
Yes, he does.
He's a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
How much does size matter?
Oh, God.
In the NFL. That matters a lot in the Underwear Olympics. We'll get to that next. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN 2.